Okay, so welcome to week 12, and we have two PowerPoints. They're interactive. They're going to be in your classroom. I've had some connection difficulties putting it all together today, but we're going to talk about fallacies that we probably should have done a little while ago. I had it in week 12 last time too. And then we're going to go into the scientific method. So both of these are concepts that you've already done, and I think you're going to really like them. Today is going to be even better than last week, and it'll be better than the week 13. Right now, we have two topics to discuss, and I don't know, is Alyssa here yet? When Alyssa comes, we're going to talk about the mind tap for week 11. So whenever any of you see Alyssa come into the classroom, unmute yourself and tell me or write it in chat. You know, I don't check chat too well. She has something to talk about. So let's do that. And then the other announcement, oh, there just went some kind of weird sound, that I have is, I know this might just make everybody cry, or maybe everybody will be cheering. I'm not going to be here week 14. I'm going to be freezing. I'm going to be in the ice cold. So I'm not going to be here. Your assignment is due. We have gone over all the chapters, week 1 through 12, 1 through 13, 12 chapters. So Dr. Hardiman is going to do the substitution. We have a choice to make that you can make. If you turn in the week 14 assignment ahead of time, so it's not due until after Thanksgiving, okay? So it's due on the 29th, I think it is. Yeah. The class I'm missing is November 23rd. It's a Monday. So if you have it done, free attendance, you don't have to come. I think I might, or if you're working on it, you don't have to come. So she's just going to play the videos that I made about the assignments, and that's it. Everybody agreed? That's good. Does somebody want to say out loud? Have another idea on how to run week 14? No, not yet. So if you have an idea on how you want to run week 14 when I'm not here, that's fine. I have no control issues about it. There you go. Okay. So we're going to discuss now fallacies. And fallacies are reasoning that inappropriately reasoning. And we see a lot of this. We've always seen a lot of it. And we're just going to recognize it, okay? So on these PowerPoints, hopefully you can still see it. I'm going to just check the share, make sure it's sharing right where it is supposed to. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Alyssa, you're here. Excellent. All right.
Yes, I'm here. I'm so sorry. Professor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Some of us have been having trouble every week finding the live lecture link. Are you able to post it under live lectures or under the course summary? Because I don't know why so many of us are having trouble every week finding it, and then we have to send it to each other.
Oh, I have a YouTube. All right. So I am going to head to the class and see where it is. I put YouTube's up because with my Ring Central and all the other I work on WebEx, I work on Zoom for all my other schools. Ring Central is difficult for my computer to do. So I just make YouTubes. So I'll share my screen.
And really quickly, I think I can help. Her. So at least with me, you put the meeting number in the school notifications, like the ring bell. So you put the meeting number in there, and then that's all you need. So then you would have to,
okay.
yeah, you have to separately load Ring, and then put that meeting number in there, and then it'll just let you in.
Okay, so that's getting to this course, this meeting now. But what is that for me to put it up there? I just put that. It has all the.
No, you already do it. So it's not you, because you already give us the number. We just like our stuff, because we're used to going to course summary and then clicking live lecture. And then usually in that we have a link to go straight. But for this class, you usually just post the number, and then we ourselves have to put the number in Ring.
Okay, so where's the number usually posted?
Okay, so you see up on the top right, it shows on Brookline, so on Moodle. So it shows like the chat button, and then it shows the notifications menu.
Yes.
With like the little bell. So yeah.
So it's there. That's how
you click on that new one, and then the Ring is like 7344, so on.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I thought I was just being dumb, but I know that a lot of other people have the same problem, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I
wonder too, so is that also where the live lectures, because I can't post the live lectures.
No, so Kayla said this class has the same code, but other class have different codes. So usually live lectures in course summary, it just like automatically does it, I guess. I don't know what the teacher does.
Okay, so what I've done is I converted into a YouTube, because I have a YouTube station, and then I post it in the class. It's in there. It's in, they're all in there. So.
Or Whitney just said that I didn't know this, because usually every week our classes are different numbers, but Whitney just said that the code is the same every week. So I'll just write down the code and save that myself.
Okay, yeah, because the code is always the same. I don't know why it's different for some people.
Sorry, thank you.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, it's week 12, so we've had 12 weeks together, and how many hours, times 3, 36 a day and a half. We should know each other by then. So I'm sorry about that. So it's good to know. So it's always there. And the live lectures, when I review them, I don't know if they'd even make it to Rotten Tomatoes. So also, every one of my PowerPoints should be interactive, especially I'll show it today on this fallacy one. I've recorded every slide on my PowerPoints. So if you have trouble with the live lecture, just go to the PowerPoint and click on the little speaker. We'll see what I'm sharing, and I'm sharing the names. So I'll go to that, and I have 2 to show you. So on this slide, let me take this off. Okay, this is the little button right here. You see that? That little button, it has, it's interactive. So it has, I don't have a message on that one, and it tells you how long it is. So I talk about every slide. Now on this slide, I just added slides yesterday, so not every slide is interactive, but I would say the majority of them are. Okay, so if you can't hear the live lectures, you can go to the specific slide and hear it. So does that help you too? Do I hear a yes or a no? So I did that.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, so when we first went to COVID last March, we were required to do that. So I just went into every slide and did it. It took me a long time. And I'm very self-conscious, as if you probably didn't notice, because I don't speak up. Elizabeth is calling. So I don't know. We're going to answer this. Hello? Hello? Hi. Yeah. Right now, and the number is the same as always. So they were just saying a 774 or 7, whatever is in the announcements. That's the number I use. It's always the same. Okay, we'll see you there. Thank you. Yeah. I like that. Maybe I should get a phone call. Oh, there she hung up. It's kind of nice. Also, I post my cell phone in my text number. You can always reach me by that, no matter where I'm at. I even answered 20 minutes before I got married one time, before I had to leave the room I was getting prepared in. It was like, because you had to be there just a little bit earlier. Anyway, so I'm always there by cell phone and text. My cell phone had a, I did an update and it took off my network settings. So I didn't know it wasn't working for a couple of days. I just knew it was didn't have a lot of bars. But now that I got that fixed, I have Verizon and everything is working. So I'm always available. So let's say when you graduate, if you text me, I'll come to see you graduate. Okay? So even years from now, I'm going to have that same phone number. So I'm always available. And I'm here for you. The reason I am is I work for you. I get paid by by Brookline, and you pay Brookline. So we'll see what kind of a fallacy, if that is a fallacy. All right? So now I'm starting to talk to myself. So on these are great flashcards for the fallacies. So if you're having trouble or you want to know more about fallacies, just put this in your browser, and it comes to some really already handmade fallacies. So what I want to say is that the study of medical reasoning and discussion depends to a great extent on the toxic risk proposed by unrecognized intrusions of false and unsound arguments. In other words, logical fallacies. We regard the awareness and the presence and the features of flawed reasoning as an important skill for all physicians, and I should also say all medical healthcare people, is an integral part of the process of clinical information. So that's why you're here. This is why we have this, is you'll see I've tried, and especially because Alyssa, you wanted more, I listened to you, you said, these are relating to medical. So the whole thing is, this is how you should take notes. This is one of the first weeks when COVID started. I had them take notes instead of attending. So this is what you need to do. There's about 20 fallacies in here. I lost the count after 17. Okay, and this is a really cute YouTube on fallacies. That's kind of fun to watch. And if you have children, you might want to watch it with them, especially after the age of 7, because that's when they start to reason. And it's good for them to know about these fallacies and how we do these. So we are going, and it says 17. I'm changing that to about 20. I'm just going to change that now. So there's about 20 here, fallacies. We're going to go over, and here's a list of them. And wait a minute. It goes to 17, and then I have more because I found out some more yesterday and today. So the first one we're going to do is pretty easy to understand. It is appeal to authority. And I know as a parent, my mom used to say it, so did my dad, and I thought I would never, ever say this because I said so. After my second son, I had to say this many times. He would ask the why question so many times. So finally, I said, because I said so. So the appeal to authority describes using a person's position and general standing to automatically validate your reasoning. And here is an example. Professor Topol or Whiting, I hold that the use of non-invasive ventilation has no place in the management of, let's say, COVID. Therefore, the approach we should adopt this. And any reasonable scientist should accept the conclusion when I'm saying it because I'm supporting it by evidence. The appeal to authority is a fallacy because there is no evidence, right? I just say there is. And we've seen this in the political realm today. So I thought I found this slide describing this appeal authority. Look at their little COVIDs with a mask, people in it, thermometer, and a ventilator. All right. So here's another one appealing to authority. And these are two lab comic strips. They're the same guy, and it says, but why should we switch to the buffer solution? Because I said so. So are we changing to this buffer suggestion? Yeah, because I said so. And that's why he just keeps arguing it. So that's appealing to authority. And so then I got this other slide here. And it's a little bit tricky because people think the subject of experts are valued higher than laymen. And I don't know why I did it that way, but anyway. Experts, we're disproving our experts all the time, especially with this COVID. And we'll go look at that in my next presentation. I'm going to do 2 today, and the scientific method. And what they did in this study was doctors who believe that vaccines cause autism, chemists who say they've developed the cold fusion and it's not really happened, and engineers who believe in perpetual motion. You'll believe them before you believe a layman over that. And so where I found this information was from a person in England, and they said Ken Robinson opinions on education are correct because he was a knight. He gave a TED talk that I'll show next week on creativity, and I think maybe I showed it before, but I'll let you guys use it because he said TED Talks don't come over, so videos don't go very well over my computer to you. But people are supposed to believe him about education just because he was knighted. And he has nothing to do with education except that he believes education stifles creativity. And then Prince Charles has said he doesn't believe in genetically modified food, and he uses his status as a prince just to make sure people believe him. So we've come across this, and I'm sure everybody could give me at least one example of a commercial that shows an authority figure and it's an actor. Even when they have a commercial on, just really, not really irritates me, but I think it's silly. They have a car commercial and they say on the car commercial, these people are not actors. Do you believe it? I don't. I believe that they have rehearsed that commercial many times, and maybe they aren't being paid as professional actors, but they're being paid for that commercial, and I'm sure that commercial was not done on one take. So anyway, so that's the appeal to authority. Another one is appeal to tradition. Now, we use this a lot in medicine, and I think this is kind of a fun one. And look at this one, argumentum or in antiquatium. I don't know how to say that word, but this is ancient origin and historical pedigree, preposition, or tradition. They use these big, huge words that kind of difficult for me to say. And it justifies the correctness of the proposition in question. So the doctor here says, I have no intention of stopping the use, and maybe some of you know what this word does, but the somatotine on patients suffering acute pancreatitis. I considered it a reasonable choice. After all, it's been the standard practice for many years, and we've been quite satisfied with the results. So the only reason this doctor is saying that he's going to continue the use of somatotide is because it's worked in the past. On the other hand, it presumes traditional premises establish a correct thing is true, it's accepted. On the other hand, it considers that the conditions justify the adaptation of it because it's traditional. And what could be wrong? Because we've done, we've done it for a long time. Can you think of anything that recently that we do for tradition? Here's one. This guy is going to send a pigeon out with a message because that's the way we've always done that. How about wearing a coat outside because it's cold? I grew up in Illinois, and my kids were raised in Illinois, and so if you don't wear a coat, you're going to get a cold. Nose cold, not just because it's cold outside, stuff like that. So we have a lot of traditional things in medicine. Bandwagon. Bandwagon is everybody is doing this. Now, teenagers love to use bandwagon because, hey, mom, everybody is doing it. Let me go to this party. Everybody will be there. Bandwagon is join the group. Everybody is buying it, so should you. And I put up McDonald's for a different reason. And if you wonder, that's a different topic at all, I can talk to you about that. That's an amazing topic about McDonaldization of the country and of all the world. It's not hamburgers, doesn't talk about hamburgers. Appeal to pity fallacy. I've seen smaller children do this one until it doesn't work anymore. This is how small children will wrap you around their finger, little finger. Mom, it hurts. And dog, I didn't do it. This one is he's faking it to get out of school, bring in his teacher, and we'll run some tests. My son actually did this when he was in 6th grade. For 3 weeks in a row, he went to the nurse's station at 1 o'clock and had to come home. He did run a fever, but he was sent home. And it turned out that at 1:15, they were scheduled to have a spelling test. So he didn't want to take it. It was appealing to the pity of the nurse. Appeal to fear. That is another one that we have. And here are some examples of appeal to fear. If you chose not to administer a triple antibiotic coverage for a patient with severe and extensive burns, you will be held responsible for any infectious complications that might eventually arise. Okay, so this is the example. A doctor doesn't want to do a triple antibiotic like Neosporin. Okay, it might be considered a value choice, but because of the fear of possible complications and particularly a risk of being accountable for the complication, the doctor just may prescribe it. Or how many of you use a Neosporin or a triple antibiotic on everything just because you might have a threat, you might get an infection in a cut? I mean, I know I do that. And that's my emotion of fear. And I think for me, it's valid because at least I don't get the possibility of me getting an infection goes down. We have another example here. is we decided not to place central venous catheters in subclavicle veins of our ICU patients because we avoid the risk of an iatrogenic pneumothoracic infection. In this case, is stress that causing the iatrogenic pneumothoracic, I'm being challenged by my words here, is certainly possible, but the probability of it occurring depends on the various factors, including experience and anatomical anomalies. It's kind of funny about the way I'm talking. I'm getting more stressed out, but anyway, there it goes. And here's another one appealing to fear. This one I like. Don't drink and drive because you may end up with a false limb. Another one, your brain on drugs when they had opened up eggs and fried them. So I think you can think of some that appear to fear. See, and here you can just use this and you go over that. So appear to flattery. This works with me all the time. So if any of you want an A in the course and you flunked a mind tap, which Alyssa, we were supposed to talk about that, but I'm not appealing to that right now. But anyway, right before break, we'll talk about it. Appeal to flattery. That will get you into a lot of places, but it also, when you do it too much, people realize that that's what you're doing. And also, this is another one that is picked up quickly by children to appeal to flattery. Here's some example. Before I sum it up, we have some chat here. All right, just somebody else came. Before I sum it up, Your Honor, I'd just like to say you're beautiful when you're mad. That'll get them. And flattery is like chewing gum. Enjoy it, but don't swallow it. And that's the creator of Dennis the Menace. Another one is special pleading. This one is one where you neutralize the rival arguments for the need of special information, and it's kind of like appealing to authority. You have superior knowledge in the comprehension of the hypothesis. And there are just, it's not that you're an authority, but there are some exceptional facts that are hard to verify. And it's just a hypothesis. So I'm convinced that the development of multi-organ failure that complicates septic situations largely depends on microthrombosis, which is meaning that you have a small clot. Okay, that's why I advocate the use of duodecogen alpha in severe sepsis, which meaning they have a severe infection in the blood. So, you know, Cochrane review looking into this matter concluded that there is hardly any benefits. So I question the way the review was designed and presented because I believe that we have not fully comprehended the way the substance operates. Therefore, it is still a valuable drug in many cases. It is evidence in our example that the special pleading serves to mislead and avoid addressing the arguments. You see how that was? Does anybody have a question on that? Can you figure out how many other special pleadings there were? So here's a group of special pleading is like they're taking the goalpost here and they're moving the goalpost to make it easier. You make it up your exception, okay? So, hey, we're girls, so we need to play on a smaller field. Here is one. There was a famous guy called Edward Johns, and he claimed he was a psychic. And people didn't believe it. He was saying he had all these predictions he was making. And when they took him to court, the scientific conditions magically disappeared. And he said one had to have faith in his ability because I am a psychic. And then here are my pigeons. I love these pigeons. The only thing I don't like about these, we call them doves. The only thing I don't like about this dove is this should be over here with the guy with the diploma. And over here we have the higher, more intelligent sounding words. And the reason is he is leading because he has a cap, baseball cap on. They're not as smart. If you follow the series in the Thesaurus Plus website, they have the pigeons. Okay, 8 is appealing to ignorance. And because you have no conclusive evidence, we should therefore accept the arguer's conclusion. Can you see how many of these fallacies are relating to COVID-19? The arguer attempts to use a lack of evidence as support for a positive claim about the truth of the conclusion. The exception of this fallacy is a case of qualified scientific research, which we're going to do in the next one. Not a single report of a flying saucer has ever been authenticated. Therefore, flying saucers don't exist. Okay? We still don't know the full extent of mask. We don't know the full extent of social distancing. So sometimes we can appeal, or we just don't know. So, and I'm not sure if it's always appealing to ignorance. And then this is the same about strange beam of light. Says, I don't know what it is, so it must be aliens. It's appealing to the ignorance. Beats there. Okay. And the appealing to ignorance, the burden of proof. It's a little different. Okay. Take a sip of my water. You made an initial claim. I think you cheated on me. You've been in relationships. Prove that you didn't. You made the claim. You have the burden of proof. It is not up to me to prove it that I didn't. It's up to you to prove I did. How can somebody possibly prove he did or didn't cheat? So this is actually the opposite, is what we believe in freedom here. And you are innocent in the United States until proven guilty. So if somebody is going to charge you with a crime, they have to prove you did it. So this follows what we, our laws. Begging the question. This makes a circular argument, and we've done this, I've done this before. It draws a conclusion based on the premises that are supposed to be supporting the conclusion. So women should not be soldiers because only men should be soldiers. It's a circular question, there's no answer. Do I have a question? Okay. Animals can't think and they have no feelings, okay? Says the man, and I gotta put this up here. It is what others matters, I think. So I can't read that too well. I should probably post that up a little bit better. So people under the age of 18 should not have the right to vote because they don't have the right to vote. It's not saying that they haven't had enough education or anything like that. It's just saying they just, because they don't have the right to vote because they don't vote. Or we know the mass creates gravity because dense planets have more gravity. But how do we know the planets are more dense? Because they have gravity. So you're using the premise to be the conclusion, and then you're using the conclusion to be the premise. This doesn't make any sense. So how we see this vicious circle or circle reasoning happening in medical things. I view any discussion on limiting therapy as, this is a psychiatrist talking, is because it's morally wrong. Okay, so the limitation of therapy is morally wrong is the premise, and then you reject this choice because it's wrong. So you cannot use this in an argument. It's like saying we have a huge one about abortion being wrong because it's morally wrong, you need more evidence. Okay, so that's begging the question. You need to rationalize it. It's poorly supported and it's bad quality. So I gave you more examples in these little circles. A breakup, you have a bad relationship, you go back to the relationship, you break up, you have a bad relationship. Instead of fixing it here, instead of getting exactly what is wrong, and here is somebody with the negative thoughts, you have negative emotions, you have avoidance behavior, so that now you're going to have more involuntary reactions such as increasing stress, panic attacks, blushing, sweating, but you're not coming to the solution. You keep going in a circle. So I could think you can understand that. All right. Straw man. Straw man is another one that's pretty easy. We use this fallacy a lot. It distorts and it's an exaggeration and a misrepresented, and the facts are supporting it. So this was done with ARDS, which is another type of disease. We could put the word COVID in there. So prone positioning holds a very important place in managing hypothysemia and lung protection in ARDS patients. So if I understand the matter correctly, our colleague here wishes to persuade me that all patients suffering from ARDS should be managed with the prone position, or else the outcome would be detrimental. And they don't accept that. So the straw man argument in this case says the distorted position appears to state ARDS patients should be treated with prone and manipulated because it replaces the original one. It doesn't validate it with evidence. It's validated with criticism and rejection. So you remember straw man, I put in here, this is an actual COVID patient, and whether they should or shouldn't be in prone position. For me, I would be in that if I get COVID, or I want anybody who I know to have COVID or treated to be that. So I'm agreeing with the straw man right now. I'm not sure if it's been proven yet or not. So here's another thing about straw man. Atheists believe that everything comes from nothing. So this is straw man because no one is actually claiming that everything comes from nothing. Instead, most atheists would argue that we simply don't know where everything comes from, and probably we will never know. You cannot, so atheists actually need to say, we don't know where everything comes from. We don't know. So they're not saying this. So when they say it like that, then a straw man. Here's more example of straw man, and this is one of the most used fallacies, not atheists, but this is straw man is one of the main fallacies that are used. You ignore the real argument. You pretend to have another argument. You defend the pretend argument. You claim victory over the real argument, and then you do the victory dance. So you distort the represented things. And in here, you have to make this larger in order for me to see it. Any given contributions to this paper, I think, deserve to share credit with the first author. So fame is more important to you than science because you don't know if it's credible. What? I didn't say that. Oh, so now I'm senile too. So they're just arguing and nobody is talking about the real argument about whether they should or shouldn't be in there. That's all that is saying. So get back down there. All right, red herring. Red herring is another type of argument, and I put some actual red herring fish. And let's see. So you'll remember this one. Red herring is, we're going to open this up to see it better. We should probably move these. Okay. You have a distractor. You use this with children all the time. The main subject of the discussion is here, and individuals following the argument, you distract them. So let's say a child wants to, doesn't want to eat their dinner, you distract them with something else so that they will eat. If somebody is over talking a subject and you may not know about the subject, you can distract them getting a new subject in there, and it works. And here is more red herring things, distractions. Something fishy has switched the train of discussion onto an irrelevant track. And fallacy bullies often take pleasure in pointing out fallacies of reason of the people who view their opposed. So I'm taking the fallacy, and I don't really know what you're talking about, but I changed the discussion. So this one is ad hominem. Ad hominem. It's not just a fancy term for insult. You're wrong because you are a dumbass. That's ad hominem. You're attacking the person. Many commercials on all the 360 sides of the political reign really attack the other people instead of saying what they did was good, not the other people, but them themselves. If I was running for office, I'd say all these other people are bad, so therefore vote for me. But when you say you're wrong, then it's not ad hominem, okay? Ad hominem is when you're attacking the personality of a person, not because you have intelligence. And this is another attack. You're wrong and you're ugly. So those are, and here's one. This is with black and white, black geese are arguing. Okay, we're going to make this a little bit bigger. We share genetic characteristics with ducks because we evolved from a common ancestor. And this one is a saying, your closed mind is stupid and you eat corn. You don't know anything. So they're not talking about facts. So see if you can remember the geese. Here's another one. This is almost like going to authority because we're saying that just because Doogie Howser is really young, he has should administer corticosteroids with all patients with severe stomach shock, but he's too young and inexperienced. What could we do without his advice? So this one here could be appealing to authority or going against his authority. So it's not that. I'm sorry, I just kind of got on the wrong track. We're saying because he's young is the reason why we shouldn't. It personally attacks the other. It describes them as closed-minded. We're seeing this in the elections again. If you're closed-minded person, you can't think right. So therefore, you should not even be in the farm. This guy works for the pharmaceutical company. Therefore, he's saying you should use this drug, and we're saying you falsified the results because you do work for the drug company. You're wrong. So two wrongs don't make a right. That's what that was leading us into. And we have some fun commercial things. Let's take this out of here. All right, the question is whether two wrongs make a right. The question isn't about what two wrongs make a right. The question is, does it make a felony? And you can do this distraction. Here is why bother conserving energy? China is opening up a new power plant every day. If they're not doing their part to prevent climate change. Why should we? Because, you know, two wrongs, why should we do it if they're not doing it? I'm sure a lot of teenagers would be doing that. It just doesn't make sense. Questionable premise. Okay, two relationships don't have don't have evidence. This one is, I failed a logical exam because I'm a Pisces and my professor is a Leo. I am a Pisces, I'm not a Leo. So if you fail an exam because you're a Leo, I'll just give you full credit. Okay. So there's no relationship between them. I don't know what this is doing here. All right, so let's go on with this one. You misidentify the cause. If you walk on a banana skin, you will slip. Okay, why is that misidentifying the cause? Well, it's not really the banana's fault. Maybe you didn't have your balance. Maybe you're intoxicated. Maybe you were carrying a lot of boxes. So you're misidentifying the cause. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. This is after it, therefore because of it. When two things occur close together in time, we assume one caused the other. And this is, again, that video that I showed you. This is what the dinosaur is saying. They're saying that maybe dinosaurs ate all the vegetation and that's extinction. Maybe it was the asteroid that landed, therefore the extinction happened. We cannot assume that is right. And this one I did not go over. I'm going to need to quickly do this, so bear with me. I appreciate it. And I'm going to give the background to this shape fill as light gray. So, and then increase this. Okay, I like saying this, post hoc ergo propter hoc. The administration of this medicine, endocannabinoids, in the patient has been very successful. The fever subsided along with the septic manifestation, the symptoms, in less than 48 hours. So it seems so. How can we be certain? We don't have any confirming culture, so what about anything else? So the chronological correlation suffices for me. I'm convinced it's a fungal infection. So is it true? Is it not true? That's what we're seeing a lot with COVID. Can we trust any of the, what was it, that one, everybody was really excited about it and people were saying sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. What it was a drug for, not the drug, but the drink for, my dad had it, malaria. So that was a good example of post hoc and cum hoc arguments, because we haven't studied that enough with scientific method, which is going to come up in the next PowerPoint. Doing the same thing here as I did with the other one. Let's get white. And then let's raise this and raise it again so I can read it. Sorry about reading this. Here we go. All righty. This is another post hoc ergo propter hoc, because after this, alas, I get somebody in chat. Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had sent you an email. Let's do that, Alyssa. I have quickly go through 15 more slides. We'll be done with this, and let's talk about that, because I'm sure you're not the only one. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it does need to be addressed always. All right, so And this is I'm going back to the Latin sentence. After this, therefore, because of this, many people believe something causes something. Cold busting supplements, airborne, helps with colds. That's not always proven. What about people taking vitamin C on an onset of a cold? It's better because the cold's natural regression occurred, not because they just took vitamin C. This can cause a vicious circle of confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is you believe something happened because you believe in it, okay? Where the patient unconsciously cherry picks the positive results from his lifestyle and continues to confirm this by existing beliefs. So I hope you understand that. So another example of post hoc ergo propter hoc is those who pray for something that actually does happen. Then they believe that they pray will get better and therefore the prayer work. Once again, it may be only a coincidence. There's no way of proving it. I do believe in praying works, and the way I like to prove that is because the power of thought. So am I in post hoc ergo propter hoc? You could say so, but it's confirmation bias. And this is also explaining the fallacy again, and I'm going to quickly go over this to get there. Slippery slope. This is when you start using harassment, right? And you see this it could be a positive harassment, but it's pretty disrespectful. And it starts with leering, is kind of humiliating somebody or scaring them, is degrading, is assaulting. And people do this all the time. There's a lot of slippery slopes in election, as we've seen. And then this should have gone up more on appearing to ignorance. And we'll go skip through some of these because I think these I haven't gone through. Also appearing to common beliefs. So I'm getting through here. Why do we study fallacies? Okay. Fallacies are common errors in reasoning that underturn the logic of your arguments. Why do you need to know it? As medical people, we saw how sometimes you'll believe without the proof, scientific proof, as long as we're believing in science, can make the argument illegitimate or irrelevant. And we do this a lot in medicine. In fact, a lot of medicine is based on this. So we do need to know what fallacies are happening. Can you use fallacies, this is the last point here, to persuade your arguments? Even if you have some of your other points logically valid, you don't do it, okay? Don't use fallacies. And as you probably saw, and again, all 360 post-election and pre-election, there are a lot of fallacies going on. And it just discredits people. So with that being said, we're going to talk about this one here. This is actually vitamins. I have an article, and I didn't post the article here, about how many fallacies were. If I was going to give you an assignment on fallacies, I'd have this one about vitamins. Do they work to improve your health, or do they not work? And you can look at all the commercials and how I would say the majority of Americans take vitamins and enhance their health by it, truly believe in it. And because I think they believe in it, it does work. That's the power of pseudo medicine, but does other countries and other continents, do they live healthy lives without taking the vitamins? Look at the blue zones. So the blue zones is where I think there's now 7 blue zones in the world where people are living very healthy lives. The whole community is blue zone, and people are living long, but they don't have social media. They don't have processed foods. They don't have a lot of vehicles, so they're getting a lot of exercise. They usually have a pretty clean environment. So take a look at that. So with that being said, we're going to have a break in a few minutes. So we have 4 minutes to discuss Alyssa's concern. Alyssa, do you want to say anything, or do you want me just to say it?
I can say something. I can say.
Okay, good. So go ahead, because I love talking when the students talk.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I don't know if anybody else is having this problem, but with the Sun Gauge assignments, I just find them to be, I don't know, I find them a lot of the questions to be a little bit opinion based, and sometimes it's wrong when the information is right in front of you. So I feel like I'm not doing very good on them, even when I'm looking at the information right in front of me and looking at the stuff in the book. So I feel like sometimes it technically could be right or could be wrong, and then also I know that a lot of us had had the problems with it not loading on like Google or Safari. So then I would start it and get like halfway through it and it would log me out. I'd have to start over all the time. So I was kind of asking if we could take notes on your lectures in place of them, because I feel like that kind of goes more towards the class and I benefit from it more anyways. And I feel like those assignments are a little bit like busy work instead of like learning so much about what we're doing.
Okay, I totally agree with you. And in fact, the last times I had the course running, that's what I said that they could do. Just take the notes, and I gave them 100% on the mind taps.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah. The part of that makes me a little bit fearful of it is I want to teach again. So I don't know how MindTap is in any other class, but this book was written in the 80s. Like you said, opinions have changed. They're not always right. The software doesn't always work well. To me, it's very clumsy. It's like driving a car that was made in the 60s without getting the oil change. And it's too frustrating. So what about this, okay? Anybody who has taken, we're in chapter 11, right now? Okay. So if you want to improve any score, you don't have to do it on the live lectures. You could just, I posted the PowerPoints, I think, in everyone. Just write me, or just look at the objectives. The objectives are written in the Chaffee PowerPoints. Respond to those. Send that. There is a place, I think it's in week 5 or 6, that I said missing assignments. I believe you could do that. So let's say you want to do it for this week. Let's not say we're going to do it for this week, okay? This week, starting 11, nobody has to do the mind tap, all right? Alyssa, nobody does mind tap. Okay, everybody listening, none of that. But let's say in week 4, you got a 50% or something and you want to do better. Just look at the objectives, which would be the shorter way of doing it, or send me notes and I'll just change your grade.
Oh my gosh, awesome. So just kind of take notes on the PowerPoint from the week and email it to you?
No, not email it, because then it's not a legal document.
Okay.
I will look at it, and I believe it is week 5 that I put up missing assignments, where I can accept assignments, because I don't work really well with Moodle. For some reason, when I'm in Moodle and edit, my computer goes crazy and it takes a long time. I click on something and it's 5 seconds to kind of like when you go to Mind Tap and then it logs you out. So it takes me a long time. So if you do that, so like let's say week 4, chapter 4, you got 50, you put in what you think the objectives mean to you, perfect. That's perfect for me. You just got 100% in week 4.
Perfect. And I'm so sorry. One more time, where do we upload it?
I gotta find it. So on break, I will go to the weeks and make sure. I think it was in week 4, or week 5, or week 6 that I
Okay.
stated that. And because every one of you in my head have a lot of time. Your time is so precious. Your parents, you're working full time. You have maybe 2 jobs. You're single parents. You got a community. You got this and that to do. You live so far away from work. You're traveling. You don't need the frustration of Mind Tap.
Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. So with all that said, let's come back at 1:45 for break. Check out or check in on the chat. Okay? And people, if you say you agree with this, say something in chat for me so I can have that set. All right. Thank you very much, Alyssa. I really appreciate that. Really do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. They should get a different. Okay. Well, never mind. Let's go. I'm taking off. I'm going to stop the video before I say too much. Okay. All righty. We'll be back 1:45. Okay, so I should be sharing, you see the DNA thing? Somebody in chat say yes, no, maybe so.
Yes, I can see it.
Oh, good, yeah. So that's DNA. Of course, you know that, but what, yeah, so come back in the class and put your name in the chat for me. I happen, to be passionate about epigenetics, and that's kind of like a DNA. So anyway, Alyssa, I did look it up. It's in week 5, and it says missing work spot. So let's say that I'll grade today or tomorrow morning. I still have to get this week started. And let's say you put something in this missing spot and I haven't seen it yet and you haven't had a grade change. You can text me nicely and say, hey, Whiting, you didn't do this. Or you can just call me names and that's legal, is fine. And because I haven't done it. So if it's only a day or two or 1 week, give me some time. I haven't ever checked it to see if anybody put anything in. So if you're missing the work or if you want a better grade for any of the weeks, drop it in there. Grades are due. I think the class ends. What day does this class end?
Perfect. So we can just type in that chat, like our thing for the week, if we want to take notes, and just maybe like notes for week.
Yeah, but make it a Word doc.
Okay, perfect.
My internet connection is unstable. I'm so sorry.
Oh, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, so week 14. So the class ends, this would be 15. It's 15, 16. So the class ends December 13th. So turn in all your work as a Word doc there, or yeah, just as a Word doc. Okay, I don't think you can chat in that.
Perfect.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, it is perfect. And I want, for my desire, if I was in everybody's, this is shoes. This is not, it's not a course where you're going to be asked on the surgical room when somebody's having surgical. You just said fallacy of post hoc ego, whatever that is, or you just did this fallacy. That's not going to happen. So do you need to know it like the back of your hand? You need to know why it happens, how you can not do that, and when somebody else is doing it. So therefore you all need A's, I think. Okay? So I'm sure it is. So we're going to go on. So this is now critical thinking. And it used to be that critical thinking was only the scientific method. Well, now they've come up with a lot of different ways. And when I was around, I think the scientific method only had 5 steps. Some say it has 8. Every time somebody with authority says it has a better way, they get more money. They'll say, oh, now I got number 9 steps, or I've shortened it and I've made the steps, I've called them, instead of saying data, we're going to say information to get more money. So that's what we're looking at. And I would rather say reason critically. Reason critically, if you put that down on your resume as something that you do, employers are really looking for people who reason critically. Okay, so that's a very good skill to have, and you got so many examples. I'm taking a lot of water. I just ate my lunch and I was starving, so I'm really thirsty. So here's I'm not sure if this is in your Mind Tap, it's in this other school's Mind Tap. Normal science, the paradigm. A paradigm is a view and it's kind of different. And a shift in paradigm is a scientific revolution. And we're going to have many revolutions happen quicker used to take a couple years before a resolution happened. Now they're happening quickly. Okay. And it's good. Life is just faster. Before it used to take you, what, 3 months to go across the ocean or 5 months, a year to go around the world. Now you can go around the world. I think a couple of hours can, space shuttle goes a couple of hours, doesn't it? Or one of those rockets. So yeah. All right. I like this guy and I wanted you to remember this guy because there is in Mind Tap. What's his name? His last name is Bacon. I wonder if he lived when he had bacon. I don't know when they invented bacon. I don't know when bacon was invented, when they decided to cut the bacon strips and fry them in a pan from the pig. I don't know. And look at what he's wearing. Let's talk about this little collar. I think that's so weird. Aren't you glad? Especially the guys in our class that, oh, I moved it, don't have to wear this little collar around, this big collar. Kind of holds your head up. I wonder, because he had a lot of parasites and like lice and stuff, that didn't make them grow. Anyway, kind of funny. All right, the scientific revolution. When did that happen? All right, this is what people believed before the scientific revolution. It was Nicholas Copernicus in 1473. So that's over almost 600 years ago. I'm living to 2075. He was a Polish astronomer, and they didn't have Poland then, so I don't know why they say Poland. Launched the scientific revolution because he asserted the sun, not the earth, was the center of the solar system. And I wonder how long he lived. That was pretty radical back then, very radical. And substance underlying science. And when you see this little symbol, it's a hot pepper. It says, is this science for the best tool to learn about the world? Is science. You will see that is Mind Tap questions. You know, you have to fill in the answer on the second one. You have 3 mind taps to take. You don't need to take them anymore, but anyway. So imperialism, that's the sensory experience is the source of truth. Now, sensory experiences are anything with the eyes, ears, touch, smell, taste, eyes, ears. I think that's got it. Objectivity is we can study the physical world without a bias. And that's really difficult because if you had the bias of understanding that the earth was the center of the universe, because the moon goes around it, the earth goes around it. I mean, the sun goes around the earth in a way. If you didn't know that we go around the sun, you'd believe that. Materialism is everything in the universe is made up of physical matter. And there is nothing that isn't. The study of epigenetics takes materialism down to the atom, and then the study of quantum physics takes it even further than the proton, neutron, and electrons. It takes it to those quark things. So materialism can go very small. Materialism goes very big, that there's more than one universe, there's many. Predictability is the universe is made up of interconnected causal relationships. And they were saying that as one of the fallacies is that, let's say, if you didn't wear, you were taking vitamin C and you didn't get a cold and everybody else got a cold, you would say it was vitamin C. You can predict the future. I'm not too sure we can as much as it is predicted. And unity is the universe was all a dynamic structure, that everything depends on everything else. And I think that one is definitely true. Mind tap question here. These are more of your vocabulary words, and we just went over them. More mind tap words here, and these are the correct definitions. And here are some questions that were also in Mind Tap. So discuss language, how language shapes your expectations and observations of natural phenomena as occurred within the canals of Mars. Used to believe up until 1960s that there were canals and there was water in those canals before 1960, okay? And that's because they could look through not a really extensive telescope, but that's what they thought. And then it became, when I don't know if we landed something on there or whatever, that those canals were actually ridges and there was no water, that there were other people living there. That's what they thought, people were living on Mars. And now they do believe that there was water, that they're getting currents, and that's pretty new. It's also said that science has become a religion of the 20th century and the early 21st centuries. So how would you say that science is becoming a religion? Well, people are believing that, and they're not believing in a higher being. I can't support the claim that there isn't any, they're believing science is the cause of everything. I believe in a higher being, so that's hard for me to do that. Discuss the assumption of anthropocentrism is science is justified or scientists should refrain from practices that exploit other animals and other so-called natural resources to benefit humans. Again, I believe that it's okay to study science. So if you want to talk about that. Another one is critically analyze Peacock's claim that religion and science complement each other. Do that. And here's another one. We're just going to go pass these up. We're going to go on to the scientific method. So the scientific method, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, right? Maybe 7, maybe 8. So first you got to find a question, okay? And this one just says, just find the question. You really need to know exactly what the question is. If you were saying the question was back here, I don't know. I don't want to know if I want to, let's say with COVID, okay, if the masks work, you have to identify that. Just saying if the masks work or not, that's pretty vague. What about a mask that has that insert that has already been used in surgical because they say it prevents viruses? Okay, so you need to understand the problem really well, have it defined. You need to find out all the evidence, the background research of it. You see, okay. Then after you understand the question down to the minute detail, a very broad statement is going to harm you in the fact that you'll have just way too much work and you might not exactly prove your hypothesis. So you construct your hypothesis and you also make the hypothesis very detailed. Then you come up with a method. It's no method in the scientific method, but you and you do an experiment. The experiment can be a survey. You might say that's not an experiment, but it's a method to gain an answer to your hypothesis. And you gather all the data, and you have to be unbiased on your data. Then your data will lead to the hypothesis is true. You can report your results if you have sufficient evidence supporting that is true. And then you have to evaluate it. No matter whether you proved it true or not, take a look at it, have other people see if they can do the same experiment. It's pretty simple. This is also MindTap, and here's your definitions from MindTap. And here is more on the scientific method. I'm going to make it bigger so I can read it. And it's also the fundamentals of science. You cannot, when do you jump to conclusions? All right, it's pretty easy anytime here. I happen to like mind maps, so I like this. I could use my own dissertation because it was pretty, it was easy to jump to a conclusion. My dissertation was on behavioral epigenetics, which is the study of how epigenetics are the on and off switch of your genes. And if you were to lead a healthy life, because once you learn about epigenetics and you learn how the environment can affect your DNA, the control of DNA, what is active DNA and what is not active DNA, internally in your cells and externally outside of your body, I thought you would be able to live a better, healthier life. And if you were a CEO, you would have your employees learn about epigenetics. So that was my hypothesis, and I had to declare it very detailed. So I had to say about the internal, external environments very specifically. I had to get people that did not know about epigenetics and have them study it and answer quizzes and whatever, so I can observe it. I had to compare. It was difficult to get a control for people that didn't know it or did know it. I had a lot of variables. How much did they know? What their age group was? You get a lot of variables in your dissertation. And if any of you go for your PhD, most of you will go for your MD or your DO, because I believe all of you are smart enough to do that. Well, everybody is in the class. And then you're going to have some difficulties, some negatives. There's going to be some constraints. Mine would be how long they knew, how different. And it was difficult to avoid jumping to conclusions because I was so passionate about people knowing about epigenetics. So that's just a long explanation. Identify the problem. So let's go with the problem of COVID, right? So our problem is COVID. And our problem is going to believe, let's go very specific. And I'm not sure of the answer for this, okay? So I'm just making it up as I go. We try to make this a little bit more interesting for you. The problem is COVID and the ventilator, right? That's the problem. Does the ventilator work with COVID? Okay, now, is that problem defined so we can research it? You could say, well, we can have COVID patients and put them on the ventilator, and some of them we don't put on the ventilator and see which one lives. Well, what about all the variables? How old is the patient? How long have they had COVID? What type of ventilator is there? What, how long is a tube? Where is the ventilator? Are they in their house or in intensive care? Are they just on the floor? How long were they on the ventilator? When was the ventilator first initiated with the patient? Was the ventilator clean in between treatments? There's a lot of stuff there. What was the patient's oxygen level? See, that problem, you need to define it. So F goes to the develop an initial hypothesis question. So we're going to say that XYZ ventilator works very well for the people having COVID. It's not going to be a cure. It's not going to be a vaccine or preventative method. And it's going to be on the third day that they have this level of the oxygen level in their blood, arterial blood. So that would be a pretty good one. Here are good ones, good hypothesis and poor hypothesis. A good hypothesis would people who consume diet soda are more likely to gain weight than those who did not. Well, I don't think that's as good as where I got this source from. I would say who are on a strict diet and eat the same as the people in the control group. Marijuana leads to heroin addiction. I'm not sure if that's really good either because I don't know about that one. The avian flu is transmitted to humans through eating flesh of an affected bird. Well, we could maybe do that. Let's put the word bat in there instead of bird and we got COVID. The increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is contributing to the increase in pollen-related allergies. We could do that. Okay, we could do air with more carbon and air without. Ones that are not so good. Wanda was having trouble with her computer. It would freeze when she's using the word processing program, so she said that was her glitch. Well, what she's doing, that's a fallacy, remember, because one cure, like, is confirmation bias, okay? One cure worked, she didn't try anything else. God is responsible for the hurricanes in the world. Can't really prove that, can we? Human and dolphins are the only animals that engage in sex for fun. That's to wake you up and see if you're listening to me. How do we know dolphins are enjoying it? Okay, whatever happens, happens for the best. I say that all the time. I don't think we can prove that. What is the best is unprovable. In the new century, which we are already in, a fire will erupt in the sky, bringing destruction. Well, that definitely can't prove. We know those. Okay, let's go on to the next one. All right. What is the criteria for evaluating a scientific hypothesis? Is it relevant to the problem? Is it consistent with well-established theories? Is it the simplest explanation for the problem? Does it provide a testable and falsifiable explanation for the problem? And can it be used to predict other events? So if we go back to this slide, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it here. Okay. Now we can see why these are wrong and poor, because they didn't meet all these qualities. Okay, so when you put this on this slide, it works. All righty, so let's go down to this one. The third step is gathering additional information, and you might have to redefine or refine your hypothesis. And this is true with almost everything, is before you really lay out the experiment, gather or your thought, your thesis, gather as much information as you can. Some people spend way too much time on it and then they don't have enough time to do the experiment. I'm not saying that, but get as much until you're absolutely positive that nobody is going to come and say, you didn't think of this. Okay? You test the hypothesis. Make sure, think about this with our studies that they say have not proven very well. Can we get a good control group with even one COVID study? Can we? No, there's no control group. We can't have a control group because we can't let people just have COVID, can we? It's inhumane. So it's very difficult and to test it. And that's why when anybody puts out a theory about COVID, other people are knocking it down because they're like, well, there's no control group. You evaluate the hypothesis on the basis of testing in the experimental result. That means no bias. Okay? You look at some of the studies that have been done on COVID with no controls, because they can't have one. You look at their backgrounds of the researcher. Did they come from a pharmaceutical company? Wasn't that one of them? Hey, but then who else does good research? What about the universities and colleges? Are they good places to evaluate a study on COVID? Excuse me, I'm yawning. I don't know why. Okay, I'm bored with the subject. No, I'm not. I like it. You don't know who's giving money to the universities, right? So you got to eliminate all these factors and who's going to benefit from your results. So you identify the problem, you generate options, you analyze your options, you select the hypothesis from the best option here. You make a decision on the exact good, high quality method you're going to use. Then you do it. Method, you evaluate and learn from the decision, and then you go back and you do this again. It's unlike that one Sicilic vicious circle. This is not a vicious circle anymore. This is a good circle. You want it to cycle like this time after time after time. And you want that other people who have no contact with you during your experiment or your theories and trying to prove them, work on it. Okay, you evaluate alternative solutions. So why should you do this? Why should you evaluate all the solutions to COVID? So we have one ventilator, XYZ. Shouldn't we also evaluate A, B, and C? A, B, C? Yeah, we should evaluate all the different varieties, because how do we know until we do which one is the best? Can they all go on simultaneously? Maybe could, but if they do, you got to control all here. These are not controlled, so you need to. Okay, this is a control. They're evaluating all of them and everything is equal. These are not. Okay. So you choose the very best solution and you're going to implement your solution. And this is do it now. I don't know why I covered up now. if you don't implement it, why even do it? You need to take that step. And like I said, you evaluate again and review periodically. Does that mean, let's say, we decided to use the ventilator XYZ, we tested ABC, we tested all the other ones, the 50 other ones, and ABC stood out for the best. Well, guess what's going to happen in the medical field? Let's say we said to the hospital, you can buy each ventilator for each patient $50,000. Okay. So, in this XYZ, well, corporation ABC goes, oh my gosh, they're getting the money and we're not. Let's see what made XYZ really good. Oh, we can improve on this part and make it better. So now they're going to go better and it's going to keep going like that. And that's what makes this world go around. So here's, if you were in my class, you would take some of this time out and you would talk about why the moon looks larger when it's on the horizon than when it's on this is high in the sky. And how come tens of thousands of people since the 1950s say they've seen UFOs. 1 out of 10 babies in the United States is born at least 3 weeks early. Rate the diagnosis of autism has dramatically risen in the last 30 years. So why is that? Left-handed people die an average of 2 years earlier. Eating fish decreases the chances of a stroke. And the average person will lose 5 pounds in a month by drinking 2 cups of green tea. Okay, so take one of those. What is the relevance of the problem under study? So we're going to put money on any of these. Oh, I skipped a step 1. Where did step 2 go? Oh, gather up all the data. Step 3 is exercise it. Get your preliminary observation. Select one of your hypotheses from step 2, which we didn't list, and discuss that hypothesis. Then the method you're going to do, list alternative types of tests and solutions, choose the best solution, and then you come. Relevance to the problem under study. What is the relevance of any of those things that we have said? Are they relevant compared to some of the medical, compared to COVID? I don't think hardly any of them were. COVID is top priority right now. It should be. What is the circle of concern? Is the circle of concern also the circle of interest and the circle of usefulness? All right, so they had this with some of the drugs that they were talking about, worked or non-worked, and that's why. Okay, a consistency with well-established theories. So what you need to do is refer to the moral principles and concerns and construct of an argument about whether or not science has obligation to refuse and engage in research that might be used to produce destructive technology. So with that being said, do you think that we have the right to research and to conduct experiment on AI that develop into destructive technology? Let you think for a second while I take a drink of my water. So, do you think that because Einstein was rebellious, and I don't know whether he was or not, I watched the movie, I don't know if he was, aided him in remaining open-minded and questioning the established scientific paradigms? Now, are you open-minded if you reject established paradigms? I mean, established, yeah, scientific paradigms, or are you closed mind to the scientific paradigms? And you would be discussing this if we were on ground, but we're not, we're online. Testability, it doesn't matter whether you skip class or not. What do you think? Can we test that? What is better, ice cream or potato chips? You put the potato chips in the ice cream, you use it as a dip. Goldfish make better pets than guinea pigs. I did see commercial. I was watching the ASU USC game, and there was a commercial with a guy driving with a goldfish on his car. Can't remember what the commercial was for. So, testability, you got to look at the people. You have to look at the mindsets, the skills. That's why I like this little dial here. Philosophy. You have to look at the philosophy. Is that testable? Is who's going to be responsible? Who are they? Good. The product is, what kind of the design does it have? If we're looking at the ventilators, are there different designs? Are we going to, we have to stick to just one. That could take years to get through if we had a lot of different designs, but that's what we got to do. The product, can we test the product? Well, the product would be like if we're believing in aliens, we can't test if there's aliens or not because we don't have any aliens. So I don't know, that's kind of a vicious circle there. Can you test the process? Can you follow different steps and can they be in order or do you just have one? The product, again, time, resources. Do you have a lot of time? How much time do you have in studying COVID right now? We don't have a lot of time. We can't keep the economy going like this. So do we rush it? How do we rush it? What are the causes of rushing it? What are the resources? Do we have the space? Do we have the people? Do we have the labs? Does the problem meet the needs of who's going to take the results? The pipeline, are there any other type of same things about COVID being tested in other places? Productivity is unearthing important problems. So there might be, is it really good? Is it suitable? Have we got any glitches in this? And then if we issue it, we don't want any, we want to test all the issues before you issue, like if we're going for a vaccine. So we got a lot of work to do. All swans are white is falsifiable because here is a black swan. See, this is a black swan. Shows it to be false. So you have to decide if your test has falsifiability, right? And this is trying to get a round peg in those type of things. Predictive power. Does it have predictive power? If we use this, can it work then? Okay. Distinguishing between scientific and pseudoscientific hypothesis. Is the idea good? We can test it. There's a positive and a negative. There's action. There's checks. We can check it to feel that it works or not. And pseudoscience is taking the idea and you have another opinion and you're going right to action. All right. You're rationalizing the action. So if you have a test and it comes out negative, you're rationalizing it and then it doesn't make sense. So placebos, a lot of pseudoscience with a lot of the things that first came out, which work for COVID. We're talking about, and I'm not saying masks are pseudoscience, but there's so many interpretations of what works and what doesn't work. Sorry about that. Can you evaluate the hypothesis that astrology is a good scientific hypothesis? I'm a Pisces. This Cancer, where's Pisces? Oh, there we are. Yes, oh, here it is. They connect us. Interesting. It's an H for Holly. That's why I'm a Pisces. All right. Okay, excuse me again. Okay, it's a criteria for evaluating a hypothesis. We already said this. The reason it's in yellow and blue is because this is a test. Repeated question, very repeated in MindTap. All right. Here are some other ones, and we're just going to go through this a little bit slowly because we're going to get through slide 44 and then take a nice break. So people who consume diet soda are more likely to gain weight than those who don't. So I pass it inadequate or adequate. It's inadequate, you're supposed to form another one. Regular use of Facebook harms academic performance. What do you think? Everything we do, everything that happens is determined by the original state of the universe. I don't know how you're going to test that one. Having a pet cat or dog increases a person's life expectancy. The aviation flu is transmitted. COVID flu is transmitted to humans through eating flesh of an affected bat. Whatever happens is the best. We said all these other ones. Research methodology and scientific experiments. You always need an independent variable and a dependent variable. You need a controlled experiment and experimental material. And everything has to be validated, and if somebody else was performing it, they could do it exactly the same way with exact almost to, the information, the variables, everything is almost as exact as you can get it. Here you have some more MindTap definitions. So here are some of the questions. How do you control experiments that involve an inductive causal arguments? Remember, inductive causal arguments are ones that are based on opinions and not facts. Usually it's if, then. If I go outside in the cold weather and not wear a jacket, then I'm going to get a cold. If I take vitamin C, I'm not going to have a cold. What types of bias and errors in thinking are reduced by the appropriate research design? We have to take out all the variables. With the masks, we'd have to have, or with, let's go with the ventilators, we have to have a certain company. It has to be put together exactly the same way as the control, except for exactly what we're doing. We have to have the patients be comparable, the administrators, persons who are administrating it, the length of everything. There's a lot. And why is being aware of confirmation bias and the fallacy of questionable cause important in evaluating scientific experience? Well, again, I'll go back to my own research is confirmation bias. I had to have somebody else help me with the performance of it because I believed strongly that about epigenetics, it's going to change the way of your life and you're going to be able to be healthier. Excuse me, because I had such a strong belief, I really had confirmation bias, I would say. They didn't know about it, but then they learned and they got it. So that wouldn't have been valid. Criteria for a well-designed experiment. Again, we need this unbiased. You have to measure are appropriate, reliable, accurate, and precise. It's replicable. The experiment can be reproduced by any other person in the universe with everything being the same except for the person running it. In generality, we can say it's good for everybody. Peer review. What is a peer review? They go over what results and will say whether it was good, whether it was fair, conformed, they have to have confidentiality, they have to have no bias. and they have to have an expert in assertment. So those are people that make peer review people. Can you become one and earn money? Yeah, you can if you have those qualifications. You need to have security, efficiency, transparency, and integrity. So those are the core values of peer reviewers, all 8 of them. And you can become one and you get money. And do I trust all peer review people anymore? No. I used to. I would say 50 years ago, when I first went to college, well, almost, 50 years ago, it was something. But now, with the world, I'm not too sure if I would trust them. Excuse me. Sorry, didn't mean to yawn again. Discuss which type of experiments would be best for doing an experiment here. So present a logical argument to support your conclusion, okay? So Fred noticed that his hens, as well as those of the neighboring farms, laid more eggs when his children were away at summer camp than with the children there. Can you do that? You could send your kids away every summer, but then the chickens are getting older. Students who drink a cup of coffee perform better on a test than those who don't. Well, maybe you can. What about studying? There's too many variables in there. Non-human mammals are able to anticipate an earthquake or tsunami hours before it strikes. That relying on animals, I'm not too sure how reliable that is. They say that's true. They say that animals run from where there's going to be an earthquake or tsunami. Computers have conscious. That's still difficult, but I'm sure they will by the time I'm living till 2075. Discuss placebos in a controlled experiment is that immoral use because it involves deception and you have to sign for it. I had a friend that had C. diff for 2 years and he finally signed up for an experiment about did this drug work, and he got the placebo. Well, when he didn't get better from COVID, then they gave him the drug and test and he got better. Kind of sad. Okay, review. A crisis is when a current paradigm can no longer explain the abnormalities that persist. Okay, a scientific experiment is well designed and you need to know that. And why am I saying this in your review? Because they are questions on MindTap. Nicholas Copernicus launched the scientific revolution. This Earth was not the center. And here's more review things. So it comes to the end of this PowerPoint. So we'll go on a no. How about if we go and let's see how many people are here. I have 16 participants, so that means 15. So I think we could end this chat today. I'm not looking inside the computer, so what do you think? We end it and we go, or do you want to continue after a break? So here is what you can put in chat. End, continue. Okay. If we end it, I'll see you a week from today, which would be the 16th. Okay, November 16th. I will go and check the missing work spot, see if anybody put papers. I will put up a week. If you say continue, I will think that you want me to come back after break. Let's say you're not here and you're going to put nothing in there. I'll know you're not listening, okay? So that's okay. I'm not saying you have to listen. I just will count you as, that's it. All right. So for those, let's see, for those of you who are not coming back after break, I'm going to take a 10-minute break, come back at 3:45 for those that want to come back. And those that do, have one of the best weeks ever. I mean, really, really good. Veterans Day is here. Let's really celebrate it really well. And I'll see you on the 16th at 12:30, right? So there you go. Thank you. Thank you. I figured those people are not coming back. You're welcome. Okay. So I figured there's 4 people listening. Very good. All righty. Interesting. All right. I'm on break. Hello? Well, you know, it's very